real and nice. But I think that at least 50% of his class has his grade or lower. He is moving towards everything race.
And the police comes and they say, well, we can't do anything.
Of course, all opinions are my own, not my employer's.
Period.
Hello, and welcome to Pop in Politics. It's Wednesday, you know what it is, it's Pop in Politics. Welcome to another episode. I am KJ, and without further ado, I am going to introduce you to my beautiful co-hosts. We have Yana. Oh, you have Yana.
Move right along.
We have T.
Hello, everyone.
We have Shelly.
Hi.
And we have Siomi. Xandria is out today. She is out, but she will be back next week. So we have Siomi filling in for her. Thank you so much for filling in.
Which is her sister.
Yeah, she is her sister. So, all right. So we will move right along. So today we will be discussing couples from different political parties and how they manage this divisive climate that we're in right now. We'll also be discussing misconceptions about white men. There is an article that we have, and we're going to, this is actually called Misconceptions About White Men, and so it's written on Medium by Andrea Coleman, so we will discuss that. And then lastly, we will discuss Mayor Scott's violence prevention plan. We will dissect it. Yes, we have the plan here, and we are going to dissect it today throughout our show, at the end of our show. All right, again, you can join the conversation by leaving a comment on our social media. Find us at Metro Conservative Media on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We're also on Instagram. So again, you follow us there at Metro Conservative Media for great content and notifications of new videos. So you gotta be sure to subscribe so you get the latest and greatest content that we provide. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. All right, so ladies, let's set it off. All right, so we are beginning today, as we usually do, with our Declare It a Crisis Baltimore campaign. This is something we've been doing for months now to raise awareness about the murders in Baltimore, specifically towards children and young adults. So if you are on social media, please hashtag Declare It a Crisis Baltimore. We want to hold our elected officials accountable and let them know that we see this, our neighbors see it, we're living within the city and we see it, and we want to raise awareness about this. This is an epidemic and it needs to stop. All right, so we will get right into it. Today we have a special guest with us. We are so excited, and he is going to help us discuss our first topic of the day. Sid Sakota. Sid, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, excellent. Yes, so this is our first topic of the day, and we have Sid to talk about that with us. Basically, we are going to discuss a little bit about being in a relationship with someone from the opposite party. And so, Sid, you can kind of tell us all about that. Can you just tell us about yourself and your wife, and just both of you are in different political parties. Can you just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I'm Sid Sakota. I'm a farm kid from Idaho that joined the military right out of high school. Literally a day after I graduated, I was in boot camp. And served in the military, got out, started a cybersecurity company, and here I am. My wife is Liberian descent, came here as when there was a war in Liberia, grew up in New York City, went to Howard University, and she has worked on the Hill for a lot of congressmen and senators, latest Senator Ben Cardin, and now she's a Biden appointee at the Development Finance Corporation, DFC, formerly OPIC, as the Vice President of External Affairs. And she also runs a podcast called the Minority Leaders Podcast, Women of Color Changemakers in Washington. And yeah, she's really, she will say she's progressive. I sometimes don't agree with that. And I will say I'm very conservative as a farm kid from Idaho that likes to hunt and likes, all the things that we enjoy back west.
Okay, and so what's the dynamic there? So when you all first met, did you know were you in the same? Did you have the same political beliefs? Were you always conservative and she was always progressive or
So
liberal? Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I was always conservative and she was always progressive. And one of the first places we met was actually at a party, a function that she was invited to represent Senator Ben Cardin. It was an Israeli event. And it was interesting because she's hardcore progressive. She's really, all on that side of the table. However, she would tell you that Senator Cardin's first thing that she will ask you when she's writing a policy is who's your Republican before he will even allow you to do a policy across the table. So the first party I went to her with, I actually sat at a table with Rubio's staff, and it was interesting to watch the people talk and discuss and try to negotiate with each other.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow! What do you?
So
Yana,
Sid, I have a question. I mean, people use these terms, progressive. Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing, of course, about your family. But what does progressive mean to you and to your wife?
So to me, it means she's a liberal.
But I mean, what does it entail exactly?
So to her, she'll tell you that she is more in line with somebody like a libertarian of sorts. So she'll tell you she's more in line with, she doesn't want big government. She doesn't want a lot of those things. So she will tell you she aligns, and she probably will disagree with me right now. But she'll tell you that, I don't agree with that, but she'll tell you she aligns like that. But really, when you look at what she'll talk about, she's definitely very more, I wouldn't say socialist, but definitely more of the moderate liberal in my opinion.
So you're saying she doesn't want big government, and so she's a socialist?
So she's not a socialist. She'll fight that she'll tell you that her and Rand Paul are very similar. They don't agree with each other on the views, but the direction they want to go is kind of similar. Just the way they want to get there is not the same.
Okay. And what does conservative mean to you?
Conservative, for me, it's and I tell her this all the time. It's first off, the way I vote is how I'm going to keep more money in my pocket, how I'm going to boost the economy. I'm not for punishing people for becoming successful, and I'm for incentivizing, people that work hard, or incentivizing those that want to try to get out and get to a place and work hard. And again, I'm a religious guy. I grew up as a Christian, served a mission. I'm for, and I go all the way back to, the founding of this country. And I understand things have to adapt and change with the times, but there are some things that don't need to change, in my opinion.
So thank you for coming again on the show. I have a question. So what is the day-to-day conversations like in the household between you and your wife? Are you talking about politics? Are you talking about, the linen, or what's going on as far as how that interacts?
We definitely get into the politics because I hear her in meetings all day with people from DFC, and she's the one that's negotiating like what's going to happen like in Guyana, or what's going on in these areas, and how's the DFC going to help. And I'm kind of stubborn, so I'll inject stuff every now and then just to kind of see and get a rise. But we actually are able to get along really well with politics. And the way you have to do that is you have to be open-minded. You have to be able to agree to disagree. Do we have like some really heated arguments? Absolutely we do. But at the end of the day, you have to say your love conquers your politics, and your ability to say, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And I'm just going to say, I believe what you're doing is what you believe is right, as long as you allow me to believe what I believe I'm doing is right.
right?
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Sid. This is Shelly. So my question goes a little bit back further. When you first met your wife now, what attracted you to her or even her to you when these discussions came up while you were dating?
So for her to me, she'll tell you, I walk like a cowboy. I'm big, and I have a really deep voice. That's what she'll tell you. She'll say, like, when you talk on the phone, your voice like sucks me in. For her, it's the same. Like she's an attractive woman. She's successful, and in my opinion, to have a successful relationship, you have to find somebody that's on your level or close to your level. We are able
As
to
far
have
as what?
we're able to have very deep conversations. She's very well educated. We both have our master's degrees. She's got a degree in English and foreign affairs, and I'm more the cyber route. And then we both agree on like I'm a policy guy, and she's definitely a policy person. So it was nice to have somebody I could talk to that would be like, hey, do you know what General Nakasone did today, or what's going on in this cyber policy? And she could be like, oh, I wrote the law for that, and then tell you even more about it. So it's nice to have somebody you could discuss stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I have some more questions. I have to say I'm a bit confused about how she's progressive. So I just want to clarify that. So the way I see progressives as they want more of social program expansions, right? Also, well, there's all this push for rights for certain groups like LGBT people, equity. There's kind of like they always talk against the patriarchy. And so these are the kind of things that I hear a lot from the so-called progressives. So how do you see, does that come up in your conversations? And also, what are some issues you disagree with your wife?
So those absolutely come up. That's exactly why I literally got in trouble the other day because I don't even remember what we were talking about. But I was like, yeah, you're a liberal and you're a socialist. And she's like, I'm not a socialist. I'm a progressive. You need to get that right. It was like, but then when I look up what a progressive is, I'm like, you fit all the definitions of socialist liberal. So what do we disagree on? We disagree on immigration a lot. We try to avoid that topic at all costs. We disagree on LGBTQ just because I am not like the guy that's like, I'm like, listen, I'm sorry. He looks like a he to me and she looks like a she to me. And he sounds like a he and she sounds like a she. And I'm not going to call them they, them, there, or Z, she, whatever the heck else I got to learn. Because I'm from, born in 78. And those terms, and if you told my grandfather or my dad that you had to do that, they would laugh in your face.
Does your wife expect for you to use those terms around her?
So she doesn't, but she gets mad if I don't like respect somebody that's saying it, like, or if I question it, like someone's like, "Excuse me, I'm a they," and I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't. What's a they? Like they."
So Sid, how or what would you offer as, I guess, advice to couples who find themselves in a similar situation? How would you suggest that they would maintain their marriage in at least an amicable way?
I would have to say the biggest things are you have to remember why you got married and remember that at the end of the day, we're a single voice. I'm a single voice. She's a single voice. And as long as I support that she can go out and you know what, I want her to, and I want everybody to. I want you to fight for what you believe in. And I want you to stand up for what you believe in. And I'm not going to stop you from doing that. And then having the ability to say, I can listen to your side and not get mad. And again, probably kill me for saying this, but she's the one that gets mad easier than I do. I'm like, hey,
she's a progressive. What do you think?
Yeah, so I'm trying to be like, so I was a huge Kim Klacik fan, and she was not a huge Kim Klacik. And like, that was a heated, like during the elections, that was very, very heated in our house. And Kamala Harris, they both went to Howard, and my wife's a Delta, and she's an AKA, and yeah, she was like, "Oh, you should love her. She's Asian." I'm like, "She's from India." Like,
and another. Oh,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So one question that I have is that, as you stated, it's very important for both sides to be able to agree to disagree, figure out, what issues can you discuss, what issues should you maybe hold back on, in order to have, a successful marriage between politamixed couples. But something else that impacts relationships is also the people around you. So, other people right now, it's very common for if someone, if you're, with people and you're talking to someone, let me rephrase it. So she is talking to a conservative, right? There are many of her friends or many other people with more, who lean left, who will not be accepting of your views, and they will ostracize her for talking to someone who has different views. And that can, outside influences do affect a relationship. So how do you manage that? Have you had any of that actually come up?
So we have. So I'll tell you the first thing I did, and I'm not proud of it, but to try to make her feel more comfortable early on in the relationship, probably in the first 6 months, I registered as a Democrat. It was the hardest thing I ever did in my life. Just so that
it was your fault.
just so that a Democrat registered paper would come to the house with my name on it. And then when it came, I felt sick to my stomach and re-registered Republican. And she was like, but to answer your question, it does happen. But what's fortunate for me is that she has worked in an area where she's worked, she'll say across the aisle a lot. Now the people she mentions that she's working across, like I work with Republicans and I wrote bills with Republicans. Well, everyone she names is a rhino. So I'm probably, so yeah, they're technically, but
So another question I have is, do you guys have children?
So I have a 21-year-old daughter that's from another marriage.
Okay,
she has a 7-year-old son that's autistic that I'm adopted.
Okay, and so, but if you had children of like between you two, just wondering, like if they start asking questions about these, especially the social issues that you disagree on, like LGBT stuff, social justice, racism, how would you approach that?
That's actually a good question. So my daughter, who I raised from the time as a single father, from the time she was in the 3rd grade to now, she is LGBTQ. She's hardcore liberal. She's way left socialism. I don't know that she really knows what she believes in, but so I kind of already had that experience, and it's the same idea as I said before. I have to allow her to get her own opinions and to learn what she wants to learn, and then find herself, and then just and I tell her my opinion all the time, and she's at the age where she just wants to argue and try to get you mad, and I understand that, and I'm privy to that, but I'd be very open with children and just say, this is what I believe and this is why. I actually had a person ask me yesterday, tell me yesterday, for political, she said, I don't really know why, but I'm a Democrat because they tell me Democrats help the poor and Republicans are for the rich. And I literally explained to her that I was like, do you know that when you raise taxes on the rich or on a company, they don't lose their money. They raise the price and it hurts you as the poor. And who do you think is giving the jobs and where do you think all that stuff's coming from? And they were like, oh, well, and so that's really the sad thing for kids and younger generation this day is and I tell my wife this all the time, but people don't understand what they're even believing. They just say, oh, Jay-Z said I should go for the poor, that they help the poor and these guys are for the rich. So, but.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take one comment before we wrap it up with you, Sid. Thanks again for so much. Thanks again for coming on. We do have a lot of comments for you. We'll take one. Do you have one too?
Well, Chad Frazier said that just last week they lost a friendship over having different political views. And that's another thing, not just romantic relationships, but friendships. It comes down to the same thing, having respect for each other's opinions. But sometimes it can get heated and friendships are actually being lost.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, Sid, we want to sign off with you. Just giving some advice on, especially, I mean, you guys seem to have it pretty down packed as far as dealing with, having a relationship with someone from the opposite political party, any advice you could give someone, friends, family who are just dealing with people with from different political parties, and it's kind of it's not fun, it's not friendly, as you all seem to have it down. What works? What's something you can give to the audience to say this is something that works for us, and you guys need to do it too?
So I'm gonna give you what I do, and my wife doesn't even know this actually. So
Oh, the secret's out. All right.
So what I do is you have to have patience. She knows that. You have to have patience. You have to be able to, like I said, agree to disagree. But the best thing I ever learned in my life, is from my mother. And my mother told me 2 things growing up. 1, don't sweat the small stuff. So if it's not worth it, then don't worry about it. And 2 is it better to be right or is it better to be happy? And so I will give up an argument just to be happy, and then walk away in my brain and go, I know I'm right and I don't really care, but I'm going to be happy. And, so that my best advice is this, if you're going to get into an argument with somebody and you want it to get heated, at some point ask yourself, is it better to be right or is it better to be happy? And what matters to you?
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and chat with us.
Absolutely.
We have to get you and your wife on together. I know that would be really interesting.
She actually wanted to. She was she tried to get home, but she's actually at a global health happy hour right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes. All right. Well, that will wrap. Yes, and that will wrap up this segment. Again, please continue to like and share and comment on this video. We will continue to respond to your comments, check your comments throughout the show. And remember, last week, sometimes we do revisit a comment. So if we don't get your comment this week, when we go back and review the show, we may bring it up in a future show. All right. So we are moving right along. We are going into our pop-off segment. So this is a segment where I'll ask a question to each of the ladies and they just pop off on the question. All right. So first question, Simone Biles. She has been in the news. Shocking withdrawal from the team gymnastics competition at Tokyo Olympics on Tuesday. Many have applauded her focusing on her mental health. But conservative talk radio hosts Clay Travis and Buck Sexton had little compassion for the star athlete, indicating on their Tuesday show that Biles' decision was selfish. Imagine if LeBron or Brady pulled out of the finals. So my question is, does her decision to pull out question her status as an icon in the field of gymnastics? And are there different standards for men? This question is for you, Shelly.
Oh, me? Oh, wow. So does it affect her status as an icon? First of all, and you all probably know, but I don't necessarily put these celebrities on a pedestal to start with. Mm-hmm. Now, I think she has amazing physicality, her gymnastics ability. I would not take that away from her. I wouldn't poo-poo that. But she's a human being. Mm-hmm. And as a human being, she's an athlete at that high level. I actually think that she withdrew. I think she's having some mental stress, which can be, anybody can have that. But I think she withdrew because I think in her mind, she's not going to be given credit for her abilities and the level that she's competing at. So in her mind, she's thinking, well, why am I doing this? This is what I think. Is there a different standard for men? I don't know. I don't think so. I wouldn't think so. I think in this culture we live today, she's getting slack from both sides, support and some defection, if you will. But I just wish her well. They're just people to me. So maybe I wasn't the best person to ask.
No, perfect. All right. Moving right along. Talking about the House leadership. So a growing group of rank and file House Republicans want House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and the GOP leadership to punish Reps Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger for accepting a position from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to serve on the Select Committee investigating the January 6th insurrection. Do you believe Cheney and Kinzinger need to be reprimanded for not remaining loyal to the conference? So remember, they also voted to impeach President Trump. So the question is, do you believe Cheney and Kinzinger need to be reprimanded for not remaining loyal to the conference? This question is for Yana.
Okay, well, I'm trying to understand what's going on there. So they were put on the committee and just
they were. Yeah, they're the push to seek. There's a push to seek punishment rose to a new level on Sunday after Pelosi announced that Kinzinger had accepted her invitation to join the committee, the January 6th commission. Yes.
And should they be reprimanded
by the Republican caucus?
Right.
I mean, that I don't know if that's a question for me, because when I see these people there, I don't really have much respect for them. I think they're lost cause, really, because they voted for Trump's impeachment. So after that, they kind of stopped paying attention to what's going on with them anyway. And if they want to investigate January 6th, that's another step, like a similar kind of step that they're making against people who were Republican, conservative, Trump supporters. Everybody knows, and they know as well, that majority of people who came out on January 6th were not violent, and that they were that there were other players in that riot that we are questioning their intentions, really. And so these people are corrupt. These people are not for the conservative movement or the patriotic movement.
Okay.
If I can interject really quickly. So they are being punished for accepting a job to help investigate the January 6th incident. So I think it's not so much the fact that they accepted the position, it's the fact that they're so clearly biased too. So it's very unlikely that they'd actually be interested in getting to the truth, right? Because if it doesn't satisfy their desire to paint Trump supporters in a negative light, they're not going to want to reveal that.
I just don't understand why they're investigating it to begin with. We have the videos, we can review it. I mean, we can talk to the arrested a whole bunch of people. Why are they investigating this? It's like,
it's all
it's such a huge event, like really, and they're calling it a deadly insurrection. The only person who died was Ashley Babbitt, who was shot. Everybody else died because of natural causes.
All right. Well, we will continue to look into that. Pop off 30 seconds responses and to one person. So. No, it's all right. It's all right. Okay, so moving right along. Next one. Naomi Osaka announced on Twitter that she will be the first Haitian and Japanese woman to appear on the cover of Sports Illustrated. But she got some backlash too. Again, you guys know in May, she announced she would pay a $15,000 fine for not participating in interviews at the French Open. This week, Megyn Kelly then tweeted, "Poor Naomi Osaka blocked me while taking a shot at me. Guess she's only tough on the courts." She is apparently arguing that she shot her many covers before publicly claiming she was too socially anxious to deal with press. So basically, she said she didn't want to deal with the press, and then she shot these covers, but she's saying she shot them before she decided to get out of the competition. So bottom line is, a lot of conservatives, and one is Megyn Kelly, came out against Naomi really pretty harsh. She was called a bully. She says, my question is this bullying? And what are your thoughts on Naomi refusing questions after matches due to mental health issues? So this question is for you.
So the first question is it bullying?
Right. Do you think what Megyn Kelly did to her on Twitter, she kind of went at her, but some people said it was bullying her.
So I think it's totally fair to question if she didn't know when the covers were shot, an announcement comes out, hey, I'm not going to be doing any more press releases. I want to step out of the limelight. Then you come out and, you're on all these covers. Right. If Megyn Kelly didn't know the actual order of events, it's totally reasonable to question that. But if you find out that, once she finds out, hey, these were shot a year in advance, then be like, oh, okay, I was incorrect. I retract my statement. Be respectful about it. but totally reasonable to ask questions. The second question had to do with
Like what, as far as her, it's kind of along the lines of what Simone Biles did, and now, Naomi Osaka did it first. They are dropping out of competitions due to mental health issues, is what they're saying.
So mental health issues can hit you at any point in time. They're not really predictable, right? I don't know what's going on behind the scenes for her. If she chooses not to answer any press questions, then that's, her choosing. I don't think that it benefits her necessarily if, it's not that it doesn't benefit her, it's that if people come out and have all these questions for her and start questioning her reasoning behind things, and then she doesn't respond to them, she can't get upset at speculation if she's not going to come out and set the record straight.
That's true. All right, and last question. Halsey was in the news. She just had a baby. She is a biological woman, but she identifies as non-binary. She's a pop star. Yeah, she's a pop star. She was all over media due to a photo that posted to Instagram showing her hair in box braids. So I'm not sure if we have that photo. Okay. But Halsey's father is black. And
let me see the photo just because you said that.
I had it.
This is my pop off right
here. She's
is she black?
Well, she identifies as I'm gonna get it right.
She's transracial and transgender.
Well, she identifies as white passing. That's what she is.
Oh,
that's what she
I
identifies.
didn't know she identified as a man.
So is she
non-binary?
Yeah,
she's non-binary.
So she says she goes by she, her, and they, them.
Yeah. So she's crazy.
She's confused, right?
Okay.
And so she posted a photo of herself in box braids just delivering the baby. And so but her father is black and her mother is white, and she identifies as white passing. Do you agree? Now, people have accused her of cultural appropriation due to these box braids. T, do you agree? And if not, what are your thoughts on the idea of cultural appropriation? Do you agree that cultural appropriation is a valid term or phenomenon?
So she's mixed. No matter what she says, she's black and white. She's mixed. So I mean, I don't know her hair texture, what it looks like, but box braids is acceptable because she has a black father.
Yeah, she has a black father and her mother is white. She identifies as white passing. So it's sort of like, people.
Well, I don't care what she identifies as. I mean, I don't. She does, and whoever else do, but I don't. So white passing, I think about the 60s or back in the 30s, 40s when you were fair skinned enough to pass as white. She brought that term way back. Like, that's not even.
But do you agree with the idea of cultural appropriation, or do you think, is that a thing, or you think it's not really a thing?
Oh, it's a thing.
You do think, okay.
It's a thing. And historically, a certain group of people have been doing that. They'll conquer and then take over like it's theirs. And so it's been happening.
That's happened all over the world.
All over the world.
I just said that.
All this for her hair.
Pop off, it's a pop off, so she gets to answer.
Okay.
She talks, we don't.
No, but you did say that because she's black, she can do that. Doesn't really matter what her background is or her hairstyles. Styles, cultures all inspire one another, right? They all influence one another. Chinese culture influenced most of Asian culture, right? African culture is influenced. There's also so many different cultures, but
we're not talking about influence
from each other, right?
Yeah, we can all learn from each other, but we're not talking about influence. We're talking about it's only acceptable when a certain group of people do it. When we've been doing it or someone else has been doing it all these years, and now all of a sudden it's okay. I'm against.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So that's what I consider cultural appropriation, when they, on the backs of someone else, make it inappropriate. You know what I mean?
So T is saying that in the past, wearing braids, wearing cornrows, things like this have been looked upon as
negative. Looked in a negative light.
Like when you said, what are those
box braids?
Like,
are just
individual
braids,
single blade
braids
with the weave,
almost like my hair, but my
so
hair
you're saying because historically it was looked at in a negative light when people of color did it.
Right.
Now it's being
acceptable.
okay.
So that's when I look at a cultural appropriation, that's what I think about.
I see. Okay.
So that's not acceptable. But because she is passing white or whatever, and she's black.
So
She
nowadays,
has to-
though, when it is more accepted, when it's accepted on black, white, or when people see a black person wearing box braids, they think it's absolutely beautiful, and they want to do the same thing on themselves. It's accepted. You think that even now, if they're accepting the beauty, acknowledging it, saying, yes, this is, I'm appreciating this, you think that's appropriation?
No,
Because
that's
wouldn't it be
appreciation.
progressive to accept it?
It's appreciation. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting
Just wear your hair
topic.
however
We
you
can-
want to wear
Yeah,
it.
that's definitely
expand on
something we
that.
can go on to
Yeah.
another day. Yes. So again, this is pop off. It ran a little long today, but we have where each person would just pop off on a question that I asked. So if you have a question that you want to present to us to pop off on, please definitely comment.
You have a question?
And post in the comments, or email, actually will be email me, kj@metroconservativemedia.com. Email me your pop-off question, and I will ask that to one of the co-hosts. All right, so we are moving right along here to our next segment, which is an article that we want to discuss that we came across on Medium, called lady wrote 5 misconceptions about white men before I started dating one, is the title of the article. So we're running out a little bit of time, so we won't go into each misconception. We want to touch on a couple of them if we could. So the first one she has here is, well, first I want to ask, so have you all dated outside of your race in the past? Have you ever dated outside?
No, never.
No. Okay.
I don't have much dating experience.
Okay.
So I can't comment on that.
Oh,
but-
okay.
Yes.
You have. Okay. What
yeah.
about you, T?
Never.
Never. Okay.
And you know
said
what?
no.
You know why I say no?
Well, no. I just want to say, have you ever?
No,
said
I haven't, because I date humans.
Oh.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I hope you do, actually. I'm saying I date humans. So, I mean, that's, I'm just, no.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay. So, well, have you ever dated anyone outside of your ethnicity?
No.
Okay. Okay. All right. And all right. I have dated outside of my ethnicity, nationality, whatever you want to call it. So this article is pretty interesting. The first one, and I just asked that to just get some type of reference, because the article kind of talks about, I guess this woman is not white, and she talks about,
she was black.
Oh yeah, she's black, and she was talking about just misconceptions she initially had before dating a white man. So one thing she has on here is they don't like big butts. What do you guys have to say about that?
I remember back in the 90s, I don't think big butts were in style then.
Right.
But now it's a different thing. I think now everyone they appreciate big butts now.
Right.
You know what I think about this? Number one, okay, I'm sorry, this drives me crazy. Men have preferences, so do women, okay? Body parts, men are very visual. That's a given. That's not even debatable as far as I'm concerned. But what I don't like about these types of, I call it, well, I don't know, they border on exploitation, because they remind me, when talking about colored people, when not just colored people in America, but slaves, well, if you want to talk about America, we were put on the auctioning block and, rated on our bodies. And I think it's degrading that we, and I'm saying even women, that we look at these types of articles or as something that we should sort of model ourselves at. And I'm not saying people have different body shapes and beautiful bodies, whatever, that's fine. But we hold this stuff up as if it is the standard that we, particularly women, that we should sort of, try to achieve, as if it's something that we are advertising our bodies for sale. To me, that has a degrading part to it.
What are we
well,
talking about butts now, right?
Well, yeah,
Well,
that's
I
a
want to say that, first of all, we shouldn't generalize any race of people in general. And I mean, how many white men did she date to make, such a generalized statement that, oh, they do like butts? I mean, how many did she survey? I mean, I'm sure there's some that have, preference for that, and some who don't really care that much. So, and the same goes for when I read this article, I thought, well, she might be generalizing black men as well, because that means that all Black men have a particular preference and that they all do all these things that she listed.
But let me stop you there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's be honest here. So there are certain men, certain races of people that do like a certain woman. I mean,
Like a
I don't know.
stereotype.
That's
It's been in the
preference,
past.
right?
I mean, and you do go through phases of quote unquote what society deems as model-esque or
Right.
beautiful. You know, in the 60s, it was very thin women. It was, you know, in Elizabethan times, they had big breasts and
the
it was
corsets
poking in
and
the
all,
corsets. So you go through phases. Right now, you have these Coke bottle shapes. So this is real. I mean, now whether you want to
So there's a
to go
cultural
along with
difference.
it, I agree.
Yeah, but I think it sets up a false standard, and I think it also it has the potential, at least, to distort a reality, particularly for women. I think again, women have all shapes and whatever, and beautiful body, whatever. But to say that, this is only what a man wants, so I'm going to try to achieve this and have my butt blown up. Or whatever. I mean, it has, to me, it has just like a lot of things, the pendulum can swing one way or the other. This has the potential to only sexualize women as for their butts and their boobs and whatever else. Why not?
Well,
I didn't say that. I'm not saying that there's not a place for that.
Men are physical. They want to see some
Yeah, they
stuff
are.
too. Like,
I'm not saying they shouldn't. And I men should be visual. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying women shouldn't be beautiful. I'm not saying that either. I'm saying that these articles like this, to me, it really reduces a woman, and maybe even a man too, only down to their primal instincts.
Because she's
well, I mean, there's attraction. People have certain preferences for the type of bodies that they like, but what I'm just thinking that there's a difference. There are cultural preferences. So there's but when I think about America and American men, they're actually very, very diverse in either white or black. It's not like we have. Like if we go to another country, they might be more homogenous in what kind of preference they have for the type of woman they're looking for. But in America, really, I mean, I've been here for over 20 years. And in my experience meeting different men from different cultures and different races, they're quite different in how they, what they think, their opinions about things, and what type of women they are attracted to. But I think generally what I can say about men is they're pretty accepting of
they really are
of different body shapes.
What I will say is white women love butts too, because every time I go to the bar, they're like, "Oh my God, like this," and they're like that, and like they love to touch you. I don't know about white men, but I'm like, "Geez, lady, I'm."
Overall, with this whole article about all of her misconceptions, we probably all felt it was a little bit goofy, right? She did take a more humorous stance, but I actually appreciated it because I thought, while we might think it's ridiculous, these are probably sentiments that a lot of people probably share. Those,
I think you're right.
Those things are true, and she's saying, "Hey, it's actually not." But per your point about the diversity, right? Something else that's very important is when people think, when they talk about white and black, they don't recognize that there is so much cultural variation and ethnic variation and everything within those groups. It's not just white, black. Within white, right, there's Eastern European, there's Western, Central European, Greek European, there's all these different groups that have different cultures, different countries that have cultures. Same with African, right? So many African countries, they all are different. The people within it, they all have different cultures, different, so it's like they have different. You can't. I'm just saying you can't generalize, right? Like
especially in America, because we're so diverse in the way we think.
What I think was interesting about the title, "The Misconceptions," was that, interestingly enough, she didn't discover these misconceptions until after their relationship they'd been dating for however long. I think she said 9 years in the article. So obviously they were attracted to each other for different reasons, or at least she was definitely attracted to him for different reasons initially, because she didn't come to these misconceptions until later in the relationship.
Well, let's talk about one of them. She did say on here was in regards to the fact, she said, misconception: white men only like black women with Anglo features.
Wait, say that again.
She's white men only like black women with Anglo features. So she's basically saying that and a misconception was that white men will, if they did date a black woman, she would have to have Anglo features, not be so Afrocentric. Right. In the world. What do you guys think?
In my experience from interracial couples that I know, that's the complete opposite. Actually, they like the natural hair and the natural beauty, and
most men like naturalness, if that's a word, on women.
Okay.
And another thing on that is, if a woman does have more Anglo features, right? So should her boyfriend be ostracized because he does find her attractive, right? It's like, or if a guy does, I know several instances actually where a man is super attracted to the, more ethnic features or whatever, and then he gets criticized for that because they say he's fetishizing it. When really you're attracted to what you're attracted to.
Right. I mean, my problem is, I don't have a problem. I mean, like you said, you're attracted to whoever you're attracted to. I take issue with someone who says, I will only, I date outside of my race or outside of my ethnicity, and I don't like my ethnicity. To me, that seems like it's something off for me. You don't like what you look like. I mean, you don't like, and I've met people like that where they say, even like some black people will say, oh, well, I don't like dating black people. And so that's just always rubbed me kind of strange.
And contrarily, when I thought about this subject, I was reminded of a video, YouTube video last year that I saw. It was his name is Imperial. And I forgot his title, but he was a member of the organization that, wear the pointed hats and stuff.
The KKK. Oh, the Imperial Grand Wizard.
Yeah, Imperial Grand Wizard. Yeah, Imperial Grand Wizard. And he actually said that.
I thought you
I thought about a rapper or something.
I was trying not to say it, but I thought about a rapper or something. So yeah, he was from Mississippi, but he mentioned that how the organization wants to keep their people pure by not mixing races. And I was thinking we actually have some things in common because there are black communities that also think the same thing, should keep your race pure or keep it in, and I can't say that there are similarities, and I can't say that I'm mad at it.
No, I've met people like that. I mentioned that there was a group in DC that I've met, and that I asked him a question actually about that, and he said that interracial relationships is the worst thing that you can do to a black person. So he would, see me, let's say, as a threat if I tried to do that. So because they want to keep their...
like the Hebrew Israelites, something like that.
No, they're not the that's one of them. But there's another group.
Not just religious groups, some people in the black community.
I mean, it's their right. If that's what they want to do,
and their family.
That's their right. But yeah, I mean, about this, it's interesting. I think that in America, we're definitely so diverse, but there are also preferences, like what you said, or you said that you have a problem with people only dating a particular race. I mean,
I don't have a problem with them dating only. I have a problem if you say, for me, if I say, I don't want to date black men.
That is a little strange.
Yeah, I just think that's strange. I mean, if I said that, I mean, I came from a black man.
And that's generalizing too. That's saying that let's say you can have some reasons for it. You'll say, well, it's because they generally tend to be this, or that. But then that means that you think that all of them are like that.
If he, she, they, we, whomever, Z, LGBT, alphabet soup, if they can date whoever they want, you can date whomever you want.
Oh, yeah.
I know another misconception. Well, I don't know if it's a misconception, but they said that white men aren't well endowed. So I don't want to find out, but if any of the ladies know if this is a misconception or not, please let us know. Like, share, comment.
Well, but there's another misconception on the other side.
And that's a misconception, though.
Which is what? What's the other misconception?
If black men are.
Misconception also.
Oh, really?
Look, if you're happy with what you got, go for it.
One thing though they don't talk about is generally on fair skinned people, you can see the veins through the penis. So
You can actually see it. You can actually see it on a darker skinned person too.
Nah, I don't think
I've seen many.
Oh yeah.
I think
I've seen-
everybody's different, right?
I've seen
And
many.
there's different.
We're
It
just
could
trying
go
to take a
across
poll.
the scale for
I
every
see them
ethnicity, for every.
regularly.
We're gonna take a poll, guys, to see.
but not when it's. I'm talking about when it's. Black.
I
Got it. Okay. Well, we'll move on.
Oh wait, let's address that because I was watching the show and I know what KJ was talking about. She's talking about a song.
Right.
Okay, it wasn't just a random thing.
And I didn't because I didn't realize that was in that song.
Right,
I heard the
That's
song
the main
later.
part of the song.
Right.
I didn't know that.
And then another one, we just want to hit the last one on here that I wanted to touch on. Police always help white men. She had a misconception there. Police always help white men.
Not true.
They
They help black
not
women
always.
too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely a misconception.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that one. Like,
Right.
I know that was kind of.
Yeah, that was a good
She
one.
threw that one in.
Right, yeah, just to get up to a certain amount
That's
of.
the
But
most
there are a
social
lot of
justice,
people that do
point.
believe
That
that.
believe
though.
that.
And there have been so many instances where on just this morning I saw on YouTube an incident, right, where a police a man stopped at a stop sign, right? He was there for probably 15 seconds, a pedestrian even crossed. As soon as he crossed the intersection, a police pulled him over and said, "Hey, you didn't stop at that stop sign. I'm pulling you over," right? The guy had to show the video in order to prove that he was, wasn't lying. But there's so many instances, and that's not brutality, right? That's an instance of abuse of power, probably. But
always do.
there are so many. There's actually, if you look, there's more instances of police brutality on white men.
And we don't hear about
but we don't hear about it.
That doesn't make the news.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't hear about it at all because it doesn't fit the narrative.
Right.
Nope. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly true. So we will continue. If you guys comment, please comment on this topic. Again,
Relationships.
yes. So again, misconceptions about dating white men. So we wanted to just touch on this, but please continue to comment, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to continue to get up-to-minute content and new videos. All right, so we are moving right along to our next topic, actually we'll move along to the pop flop of the week. Please take a look.
Well, I'm saying, look, it's a little bit like when I got elected. I'm sitting across from Putin, who I know. He knows who I am. The first time I walked downstairs and they played Hail to the Chief, I wondered, where is he? I'm not being a wise guy now. It really has, not a joke. Let me finish the question. The answer. And the question is whether or not we should be in a position where you why can't the experts say we know that this virus is in fact it's going to be, or excuse me, we know why all the drugs approved are not temporarily approved but permanently approved. Come on. Delta virus, which is much more transmissible and more deadly in terms of unvaccinated people. It's just nothing that just happened yesterday and they said, well, let's take a shot on this. You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations. But this is not a pandemic. Come on. As they say when they look at me and my wife, you married up, kid. I'm not being a wise guy now. I have overwhelming support from the African American clergy that I sort of come from in my sort of support. Come on. I hope I have very good manners. It is very hard to get comfortable. I'm the President of the United States of America. I'm not, you know what I mean?
My goodness.
Remember that.
I
He's
always-
not kidding, man.
I always feel bad for those sign language person who needs to interpret that. Like, what was going on there?
So they're saying that this is because of his speech impediment or whatever.
Yes,
But
They're just
He
lying.
does have a speech impediment.
He may have speech
Really?
impediment, but
this isn't.
I bet you lunch up in there and he has
There
dementia.
Yeah,
There's plenty of recordings of him over the years speaking completely coherently, finishing his
When he was
sentences. A
younger.
speech impediment does not impair your ability to complete a thought.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's gotten worse. So.
Yeah, no, I heard him speak when he was a young person.
He wasn't nowhere near this bad.
They're trying to cover it up.
Yeah, keep him in your prayers. So
That's okay.
yeah, moving right along.
You're a humanist, so you got to keep him in your prayers if you like humans.
No, I don't. My prayers are my prayers. That's between me and God.
All right, so we are moving right along to Mayor Scott's comprehensive violence prevention plan. He unrolled this week with 3 pillars: public health approach to violence, community engagement, and interagency accountability and evaluation accountability. So I know you guys have had a chance to review it. Shelly, what did you like about the plan and what did you feel was missing?
Okay, the short of it, the one thing that I liked, which we talked about before in the spring when we talked about the draft plan of this final, the 911 diversion. I think there's some potential to divert those calls instead of having the police and the resources wasted from the police. They can divert them out to the behavioral health services or the needs that the people may have. That's about the only thing that I would say at least has some potential. As basically this plan is convoluted. It's a convoluted plan that puts together many networks, some new initiatives like the CVIs and the CNSRs and the Violence Prevention Task Force and the shooting response protocols. This is a big conglomeration of networks, partnerships, initiatives, and I think it's basically to get the funding for these groups. This plan does not address, anywhere that I've read, it does not address a law enforcement approach. Nowhere in this plan. When you're talking about violence prevention, well, I would think the very thing you definitely need is law enforcement to at least one of those pillars. Not at all. The mayor rolled this out on Friday with much fanfare. You know, he had these stops around Baltimore City, talking about these 3 pillars. But again, if violence is the disease, which is what they are calling this, if violence is the disease, I wrote this down in my notes. If violence is the disease, wouldn't we want to stop the vectors from spreading that disease? The vectors being the criminals? No. As a matter of fact, this plan even goes further. It looks to restore, rehabilitate, and reintegrate criminals into the public system. Not only are we going to be paying for them to be housed with their 3 hots and a cot in jail, but now we're going to be paying for them to work for the city. No background checks in some of these roles that are considered non-safe or no safety, something, however the mayor called it. But now we're going to have criminals working on taxpayer dollars, non-sensitive positions.
Well, let me ask you this. So it's a public health approach.
This is a public health matter.
And it's a public health approach to violence. But does it address violence today? Or is it something that's addressed in the future?
It seems like, I mean, it's all about the future and in hopes that these steps will change something.
Reimagining.
Right. And it seems like there's a lot of responsibility put outside of the criminals themselves. So they want to prosecute the gun traffickers, which is already, I'm sure it's being done. I mean,
we'll stop the flow of illegal guns.
Right.
That's something he's been riding really hard.
So saying that, but then the people if there's demand, they're gonna get these guns anyway. If there's criminals that want them, they will get them.
Right.
I mean, it's as long as there are guns available in the country, and then there's the diverting of calls. So it's I mean, it's not necessarily the wrong thing, but I think there should be the police and the social services. And what happens when they send a social worker somewhere and that social worker gets killed? What is going to be the response to that? and also they want to put people in to get them jobs without drug screening.
Right.
So again, it's like taking the responsibility away from the people who are committing crimes. That's what I.
So it looks like they're seeing it as opening up an opportunity for people who have committed crimes or people who just want a second chance. I'm sure they're not going to pick a random person like, hey, you got a drug charge, you got criminal background. Here, we want you specifically here. No, they're creating more opportunities.
So
for
that's
more people.
something that they would definitely need to define. So I think with each of these pillars, they sound, just the statement at face value, they sound great on paper.
Right.
What are they actually doing though? Are they actually proactive measure? Are there proactive measures being taken in order to actually make a change? For a lot of these, it sounded like they were funneling money into various programs, but they didn't actually outline how are those programs going to be used? How are they going to leverage that spending in order to actually impact the community, right? Just because you put a whole bunch of money into something does not guarantee that it's going to be successful or make a difference.
And also, I haven't seen any mention of education. Are they going to address that?
Education was mentioned in as part of like these subcomponents that they have. But I mean, I wrote a note, and I can't remember my page. I'm not going to spend time looking for it. But I wrote a note. If education is going to be one of these components, then why is our education system failing? Which system are they going to use? Because they damn well can't use Baltimore, Maryland system if they're going to use education as one of the sub measurements. But another thing, Siomi, to your point, these sound good words, and there's a lot of these little buzzwords and phrases in this report. But on page 15, I was on implementation 4.2, quote, deadly shootings and law enforcement takedowns can harm a community by inflicting trauma on bystanders or creating a power vacuum in a neighborhood. So I had to read that 3 times and say, wait a minute, I can understand deadly shootings causing trauma and community harm. But what is a law enforcement takedown? So I looked it up. A law enforcement takedown is arresting a bad guy, a suspect. Why would that cause community trauma? And then it says it inflicts the trauma on the bystanders and creating a power vacuum. The power vacuum meaning that suspect is off the streets. Are you serious?
No, he's saying that.
No, this is what this says.
No, I know, but I read it as them saying, or interpret it as him saying that the visual or the idea of law enforcement takedown, so maybe like a lot of police going into a community and doing the job.
I would be out there cheering them for taking the bad guys off the street.
I'd rather them not shoot the place up.
But he's saying that would create hostility towards the police, which doesn't make sense.
So
I don't. He maybe that's one interpretation. Maybe that's one interpretation. But go ahead, Sion.
Oh no, I was gonna say. So one of the things that they also say is that they keep using the word accountability, right? We want to promote accountability, but they never actually explain how are they promoting that accountability. One of their ideas, right, was to make less arrests by using allowing people to go. I looked into some of the community programs that they want to funnel money into, right? And some of them do bank on education, providing resources to help with getting hired and stuff. And if that, especially for juvenile, right? If it's a petty crime, sure, put them in. I don't always think arrest is the sole answer, or even the answer, right? There are, especially at such a young age, teach them different things that can allow them to channel their energy into something productive, something that will actually help them. But then when they talk about, accountability and they don't actually, if someone commits a crime, right, how are you going to hold them accountable? Sometimes they do need to go to jail for that. I mean, just putting them in a program and saying, all right, after you take this class, you can go back into society. That's not going to help minimize the problem. They know that it's a slap on the wrist. They can get out easily.
And again, and to your point there, we have a very a fundamental question here. Is there evil in the world?
Yes.
Okay, so there are some people that are not able to be rehabilitated. They're just evil. And that needs to be said and it needs to be addressed, because the way this plan is reading, everyone can be rehabilitated. Social issues are the answer. Public health is the answer. But some people are just evil.
Right. And to your point, some people would say, well, no, the meeting we went to, the community meeting, when they almost jumped over that man for mentioning that the people who are committing the murders are they're neighborhood terrorists or domestic terrorists. But so let's add to that what you just said. Some people are evil. okay, if the person is not evil, then what they have done justifies or qualifies as being evil. Right. If you want to remove it from the person, okay, but what their actions have proven to be evil. Right. So
some people want to hug it out of you.
Yeah, and
hug you till you stop killing. While they stabbing you in the stomach.
That man who he stood up at a town hall meeting saying, these people are terrorizing our communities, and we need to have. He didn't say we need to. I don't know. He didn't say murder them or anything.
He just said
like
get them
that.
off the street,
he
basically.
Said, put them in places where they can be rehabilitated. But he did use the word terrorist, and everybody was
everyone off. And it goes to what you said. Yes. That's what Shelly read about that line you said is what the man. That's how they felt. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't want to. They're saying that seeing law enforcement arrest these probably Black people is going to be trauma. And so then that would cause them not to like police officers.
Then they have the community engagement and what is interagency
accountability?
Is that the
mayor's office,
the trauma task force?
It's all these. I'm telling you, there's so many different. There's some new things in here that people don't even know about. These new initiatives, and you have to kind of look at the name. Like, what does that mean? I mean, it's like an alphabet soup. One other, I think I wrote number 5 on my list. One other point that the mayor talked about on Friday was, and I haven't heard a lot about this, reducing the violent deaths 15% every year. This is what this plan calls for. 15% every year. So I did some of the math, and I'm not a mathematician, but if we take 2020, we had 335 murders at the end of 2020. If we reduce that, the next 15% would give us about, let me see, what did I write? I think down to 285, right? So every year until I stopped at 207 murders, that would put us at 2014, the last time we had 211 murders under Stephanie Rawlins Blake. So this plan, it does say this in the plan, to reduce violent deaths by 15% every year for this whole plan. So what's going to happen at the end of this year? Because we're already trending towards 300 or more, right? Today, as of today, we have 30 murders in Baltimore City.
So it won't really be a progress.
Right. So I'm guessing, and it starts effective July 1. So we're already at 30 murders on July 28th.
You'd want to.
Yeah, and well, when you said something about people being evil, and when I see this plan, it's a very Marxist plan.
Oh yes.
So basically, these people are not bad. You know, it's just the society. Right. Let's re-educate them. And the issue in humanity in general is there's not enough exchange. In order for a good relationship in a community or in the city, anywhere to operate, you have to have exchange. People have to pay for something. They cannot just keep receiving something. And this is what's happening with these communities, is that they keep expecting someone else to come in, fix their problems. They're not paying for anything at this point. They need to be putting in things in the community. And if somebody did something illegal, something bad, they need to pay for that.
I'd also like to add that they say they want to arrest less people, right, by implementing these rehabilitation programs. So by default, that's going to make their crime statistic go down because they are going to they're not arresting people.
That's the main thing. They keep trying not to arrest and not prosecute.
If you're finding reasons to not do that, right? These dangerous criminals are being let free. What's going to actually happen to the crime rate? That's not going to actually help.
My question is, what is all of this for? Like, why are they coddling people so much so where they can make these crimes or do these crimes and not get penalized for it? But what's the whole point?
It's part of this rogue prosecution, or this idea of these rogue prosecutors not prosecuting crimes. It's a part of this idea of reimagining and this restorative justice movement that criminals or the criminal justice system is already racist, and it has negatively affected people of color for years. So this is a way that the mayor and prosecutors in general, at least ones on the left, can rectify or correct the historical wrongs. This is some of the language that they have used. But one thing this plan does
instead of creating programs that actually help people to create opportunities for their own selves.
Yeah. But this plan has so many networks, again, initiatives. And I said, you know what's interesting? All of these little groups and initiatives, but it does not address individuals who need to address or redress their government for their losses. So if you're not a part of the group, then you are ass out.
So if there's trauma from just watching
sorry.
somebody getting arrested, how about trauma from being shot,
victim.
from being robbed?
Well, he
from
did mention that.
Yeah, that's in here, part of
He
the trauma
said-
task force.
No, but he said the first part of it was the mass
Where's
shooting.
justice
Oh, yeah.
for that?
Right.
You know, so if someone who committed crime against me is not going to be punished?
No, they'll get hired at City Hall.
So let me ask you this, because we do have to wrap it up. But last question for you all is, we have his crime plan. You do have some people within the city who have an idea, or they believe, let's give him a chance. Let's give him a chance, see how this works. So you all looking at this crime plan, do you believe that Mayor Scott needs to be given a chance to follow through to see if this would work? You can go see him.
So I would say I would need to see a very detailed plan of all of the different organizations he's funding. What is it that they do? Where are those funds going specifically? What are their objectives in that partnership? Are there going to be check-ins to see what is their progress? Where are they in, actually what results are they getting, right? Another thing that I would think is, I don't really know how he expects he wants to get residents to start realizing, to think they can rely on their government, to have faith in their government again. But how can they have faith in their government and how can you expect them to get on board with these things when they don't even read the emails that the residents send them when they, to pick up the trash in the neighborhood? There's trash everywhere in Baltimore and they won't even answer those phone calls. So if you can't be there on the smaller issues, how can they expect you to
But you're willing to give him
anything?
a chance. You're not saying you're done with him. If you could move him out to you think he deserves some
I won't cast him
additional
aside,
chance.
but
Okay.
I would want to see a very detailed, thorough plan, and I would want everything he does to be made available to the public so we can actually see how are those funds being used, what are they actually doing, is this working, or should this whole plan be thrown out?
You mean reports?
What about you, Shelly?
Reports?
You got to ask me.
Or capture?
Financial reports, everything, yeah.
First, I mean, in a sense, we really don't have a choice but to give him a plan because he is in office in that sense.
But I mean, if there were a chance where you could say recall, or do you think we need to give him a chance?
No, I don't want to give him a chance because people's lives are at stake.
So you think this is not
Exactly.
no way, no how?
No, I think this is a bunch of sound good, feel good, let's kumbaya plan on paper. But no, I don't want to give him the chance because people's lives are literally at stake.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I just want to say I lived in Washington D.C. for a while, and I'm for people's safety. So there's crime there. There's crime in Baltimore, and it's for people to feel. We need to have people who feel safe in the city. So in my experience, my car has been vandalized 4 times in Washington D.C. I was robbed once. I was kicked in my leg on the metro. Yep. I mean, thankfully, the police did catch the guy. So, no, we need to keep people safe.
Right.
And all of this talking points, it's not making me feel better about walking in Baltimore.
It seems like they're not protecting the people. They're protecting criminals.
Exactly.
And that's
Like,
not-
I want to be able to
That's not
go
cool.
and not be afraid of these kind of things happening.
They're
So do you
protected
so looking at this plan and what he's done so far, you're saying that you don't think this is going to work, and you don't want to give him a chance?
No, because
if
if
you
there's
had to
no
recall.
accountability for the criminals, if they're not afraid, then what is going to stop them from doing these kind of things to people?
And this is program
What about
number
you,
what
T?
now at this point?
10,999.
The past ones haven't worked, so what makes this one so special if it's the same words?
The police chief in DC said it best. I think his name was Chief Conti. He said, sometimes we need to get people off the streets and put them in jail.
Sometimes. How about
No, he said sometimes there's a place for rehabilitation. There's a place for, like you were saying, some juveniles can be redirected. But sometimes people need to be off the streets and jailed.
So if I can edit my statement really quickly.
Oh yeah.
So this is a good draft. It's a start, right? But it needs extreme edits. It needs input from the community. It needs very, clear written direction.
Okay.
I think that he's at least addressing that an issue exists for all of these areas, right?
Right.
This is He's
Yeah,
bringing
they want the
somewhat
criminals to be better.
Supposedly,
attempting to
criminals.
address it, but he does like it's
Be a
something
better
to start
criminal.
with.
supposedly
That's what Baltimore City's
13,000 community members gave their input on
Yeah, it
this.
looks like it's
Supposedly
definitely community.
13,000. I didn't get in. I live in the city.
They didn't call you?
No.
Sounds like how my university would say we interviewed everyone and they want you to. Everyone agreed you should have a tuition hike.
Right.
Like, I don't remember agreeing to that.
Well, we will continue to follow this story, but it does sound like most of the co-hosts feel like, Mayor Scott's reimagining police he needs to wake up and come back to reality, get out of this daydream and wake up to reality. So we will continue to follow.
I mean, who are his advisors? Like, where is he getting this information to make this thing a legit thing? Like, what?
Monsi, the mayor's office of neighborhood safety and engagement, is the main agency which was created when he became mayor to task with kind of putting all this together, and they're going to be sort of the overseers of all of these different initiatives.
All right, sounds like Tweedledee and Tweedledum, but
Pot and Keller.
All right, so that wraps this show up. Please continue to respond and to comment. We will definitely respond and check your comments throughout the week. And again, we may revisit something that was said in a future show. So please continue to share and watch. Thank you for watching Pop and Politics presented by Metro Conservative Media. Be sure to check out our other shows, the 8:30 show live on Thursday evenings and Gray Thoughts Matter. All this and more can be found at www.metroconservativemedia.com. Again, thanks again, and count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.